Most people don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they lack daily discipline. See, success is not something you chase, it's something you become. And what you become is determined by what you do every single day. The wealthy don't think differently just by accident. They've trained themselves through habits that compound over time. While most people are waiting, wishing, and hoping, the top 1% are working on specific things daily that move them closer to freedom, influence, and impact. The truth is, your bank account, your mindset, your relationships, they're all a reflection of your daily routine. So if you don't like your results, don't change your goals, change your habits. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is hidden in what you consistently do. Today, we're breaking down 10 daily habits that separate the wealthy from everyone else. Let me tell you something most people overlook. Your mind is not just a place where thoughts happen. It's a factory where results are produced. And whether you realize it or not, that factory is always running. The only question is, what are you feeding it every single day? Because whatever goes into your mind is eventually going to show up in your life. See, wealthy people have a different level of awareness when it comes to this. They understand that their mind is their greatest asset, not their money, not their connections, not even their opportunities. Because if you lose the money but keep the mindset, you can get the money back. But if you lose the mindset, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're going to lose that too. Most people wake up and immediately start consuming. They scroll social media, they listen to negative news, they entertain conversations filled with doubt, fear, and limitation. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel overwhelmed, why nothing seems to change. But you can't feed your mind garbage and expect it to produce gold. It doesn't work like that. The people who win guard their mind like it prints money, because it does. They're intentional about what they listen to, what they read, and who they allow to influence their thinking. They don't just hope to stay positive. They design their environment to support powerful thinking. Every single day, they're putting in something that stretches them, something that challenges them, something that elevates their perspective. Because here's the truth. You don't live in the world as it is. You live in the world as you see it. And how you see it is shaped by what you consistently expose yourself to. If all you hear is limitation, you'll start believing limitation is normal. If all you hear is possibility, you'll start acting like anything is achievable. That's why reading isn't optional for them. Learning isn't optional. Growth isn't optional. They're constantly upgrading their thinking because they know their income can only grow to the extent that they do. And they've made a decision that they're not going to stay the same person year after year, hoping for a different result. And it's not just about information, it's about association. Who you listen to matters. Who you spend time with matters. Because energy transfers, mindsets transfer. If you're around people who complain, you'll start complaining. If you're around people who execute, you'll start executing. It's not magic, it's proximity. So they make deliberate choices. They get around people who think bigger than them, people who challenge them, people who force them to raise their standard. Because they understand that you can't consistently perform at a high level if you're constantly surrounded by low-level thinking. And let me be clear, this isn't about pretending negativity doesn't exist. It's about refusing to let negativity control your direction. Challenges will come, doubt will show up. But when your mind is conditioned daily, you respond differently. You don't panic, you process, you don't quit, you adjust, you don't shrink, you expand. That kind of response doesn't happen by accident. It's built day by day, thought by thought, decision by decision. So instead of asking, what do I feel like doing today? The better question is, what am I feeding my mind today? Because your future is hidden in that answer. The books you read, the voices you listen to, the thoughts you entertain, they are quietly shaping the life you're going to live. And once you truly understand that, you stop being casual about your mind. You stop letting anything and everything in. You become selective, you become intentional, you become disciplined, because you realize that every thought you allow is either building your future or breaking it. And the people who separate themselves, the ones who rise, the ones who create real freedom, they've simply made a decision that they will no longer leave their thinking to chance. Now let's go a little deeper, because once your mind is in the right place, the next thing that separates those who win from those who stay stuck is how they use their time. And this is where most people get it wrong. They confuse being busy with being productive. They fill their day with activity, but at the end of it, they've created no real value, no real progress, and definitely no real income. See, wealthy people don't get paid for being busy. They get paid for being valuable. And they understand that not all tasks carry the same weight. Some things move the needle, and some things just make you feel like you're moving. And if you don't know the difference, you can spend years working hard and still have nothing to show for it. So they ask a different question every day. Not what do I need to do, but what is the highest value thing I can do today that produces income or creates opportunity? Because they know that income doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from directed effort. For most people, their day is reactive. They wake up and respond to whatever shows up, messages, emails, distractions, other people's priorities, and before they know it, the day is gone. But the people who win, they don't let the day control them. They decide in advance what matters most, and they attack that first. Income-producing activities become non-negotiable. Things like making offers, improving their ability to sell, creating content, building relationships, learning how to communicate value. These are the actions that directly impact their financial results, and they prioritize those before anything else. Because let's be honest, it's easy to avoid these things. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone doing tasks that feel safe, organizing, planning, overthinking. But none of that pays you unless it leads to execution. Wealthy people don't hide behind preparation. They step into action. And here's something else they understand. Your income is directly tied to your ability to solve problems for other people. The bigger the problem you solve and the more people you solve it for, the more money you make. So every day, they're focused on increasing their capacity to create value. They're asking, how can I serve better? How can I communicate clearer? How can I reach more people? Because they know money follows value, and value is created through intentional action. Now, this doesn't mean they ignore everything else. It just means they put first things first. They handle what pays them before they handle what distracts them. And that one shift alone changes everything. Think about it. If you spent just 2 to 4 hours every day focused purely on income-producing activities, where would your life be in 6 months, in a year? Most people never find out because they never commit to that level of focus. Instead, they let small, unimportant tasks steal their time. And time is the one thing you can't get back. Money lost can be earned again. Opportunities missed can sometimes come back around. But time, once it's gone, it's gone. So the people who understand this, they become ruthless with their schedule. Not careless, but intentional. They start saying no to things that don't align. They stop giving their best energy to things that don't produce results. And they protect their time like it's their most valuable asset, because it is. And here's the key: consistency, not intensity. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything, but you do have to show up daily and do the things that matter most. Because small actions done consistently in the right direction will outperform random bursts of effort every single time. So while others are busy being distracted, they're focused on producing. While others are waiting for the right moment, they're creating it. And while others are wondering why nothing is changing, they're stacking results day after day. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't come from what you occasionally do. It comes from what you consistently prioritize. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, because once you start focusing on what actually produces income, you begin to realize something powerful. Money is not the goal. Money is the byproduct. And if you chase money directly, you'll always feel like it's just out of reach. But if you chase the skills that produce money, you put yourself in a position where income becomes inevitable. See, wealthy people don't wake up every day asking, how can I make more money? They ask, who do I need to become to earn more money? And the answer to that question is always found in skills, because skills are what make you valuable in the marketplace. Skills are what allow you to solve bigger problems, reach more people, and create greater impact. Think about it. If you can communicate clearly, you can influence. If you can sell, you can generate income anytime, anywhere. If you can lead, you can multiply your results through other people. These are not just talents you're born with. These are abilities you build, refine, and sharpen over time. And the people who separate themselves are the ones who commit to that process daily. Most people want immediate results, but they're not willing to invest in long-term capability. They'll spend hours being entertained, but minutes being educated, and then they wonder why their life isn't changing. But the truth is, your life can't outperform your skill set for long. Eventually, your results will match your level of development. So the people who win, they flip the script. They become students for life. They're constantly learning, constantly practicing, constantly improving, not randomly but intentionally. They identify the skills that directly impact their income and influence, and they go all in on mastering those. And here's what's powerful about that. Once you develop a high income skill, nobody can take it from you. You're no longer dependent on a single job, a single opportunity, or a single source. You become the source. You carry the ability with you wherever you go. That's a different level of confidence. That's a different level of freedom. But let's be real, it takes discipline, because skill building is not always exciting. It requires repetition. It requires focus. It requires doing things you're not good at yet over and over again until you are. And most people avoid that discomfort. They'd rather stay average than feel like a beginner. But the people who rise, they embrace it. They understand that being bad at something is just the first step to being great at it. So they don't run from the process. They lean into it. They read books that stretch their thinking. They listen to people who are ahead of them. They practice what they learn, not just consume it, because information without application is just entertainment. And they're not here to be entertained. They're here to transform. And over time, something starts to happen. What used to feel difficult becomes natural. What used to take effort becomes automatic. And what used to seem impossible becomes part of who they are. That's when the results start to show up in a different way. Opportunities increase, income grows, influence expands, not because they got lucky, but because they got better. And the beautiful part about skills is that they compound, just like everything else we've been talking about. The more you learn, the easier it becomes to learn more. The more you practice, the faster you improve. And before you know it, you're operating at a level that most people never reach. Not because you're special, but because you were consistent. So instead of asking, how fast can I make money? Start asking, how fast can I improve? Because if you focus on becoming more valuable every single day, the marketplace has no choice but to reward you. And once you understand that, you stop chasing money and you start attracting it. Now, this is where everything you've heard so far either comes together or completely falls apart, because you can have the right mindset, you can focus on the right activities, you can even build valuable skills, but if you don't execute consistently, none of it matters. And the reason most people never get the results they want isn't because they don't know what to do. It's because they don't do what they know. And when you really break it down, it comes down to one thing: emotion. Most people live their lives based on how they feel in the moment. If they feel motivated, they take action. If they feel tired, they stop. If they feel uncertain, they hesitate. And what that creates is inconsistency. And inconsistency will kill any dream, no matter how good the plan is. But the people who separate themselves, they don't let emotions decide their actions. They let decisions decide their actions. They've already made up their mind about who they are and what they're going to do. So when the moment comes, there's no debate. There's no negotiation. There's just execution. See, discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it, because they understand something most people don't. Your feelings are temporary, but your results are permanent. Think about how many opportunities are missed, not because people aren't capable, but because they didn't feel ready. They didn't feel confident. They didn't feel motivated. And while they were waiting for the feeling to change, the opportunity passed them by. But those who win, they move anyway. They take action in the presence of doubt. They move forward even when the outcome isn't guaranteed, because they understand that clarity doesn't come before action, it comes from action. And this is where most people get stuck. They want everything to be perfect before they begin. They want the plan to be flawless. They want the timing to be ideal. But perfection is a trap, because while you're waiting for perfect, someone else is making progress. Execution is messy. It's not always clean, it's not always comfortable, but it's necessary, because every step you take, even if it's not perfect, moves you forward. It teaches you something. It builds momentum, and momentum is powerful. Once you get moving, it becomes easier to keep moving, but you have to push past that initial resistance. You have to override that voice that tells you to wait, to delay, to procrastinate, because that voice will keep you stuck if you listen to it long enough. So instead of asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? Start asking, is this aligned with where I'm trying to go? And if the answer is yes, then you do it, no matter how you feel. Because the truth is, successful people don't have fewer emotions than anyone else. They just don't let those emotions control their behavior. They've trained themselves to act in alignment with their goals, not their moods. And the more you do that, the stronger you become. The more you prove to yourself that you can follow through even when it's hard, and that builds confidence. Not the kind that comes from thinking, but the kind that comes from doing. And over time, that becomes your identity. You become someone who executes. Someone who follows through, someone who doesn't just talk about goals, but actually moves toward them every single day. And once that identity is in place, everything changes. Because now, you're not relying on motivation. You're operating from commitment. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're creating it. And while others are starting and stopping, getting excited and then burning out, you're steady. You're consistent. You're moving forward, step by step, day by day. Because at the end of it all, success doesn't belong to the most talented. It doesn't belong to the most intelligent. It belongs to the ones who execute over and over again, regardless of how they feel. Now let's bring this full circle, because everything we've talked about, your mindset, your focus, your skills, your execution, it all starts to make sense when you understand this final piece. The people who truly build wealth don't just think about today, they think in decades. But here's what makes them different. They don't just think long-term, they act daily. Most people live their life zoomed all the way in. They're focused on what's happening right now, what they feel today, what they need today, what's urgent today. And because of that, they make decisions that feel good in the moment, but cost them in the future. They trade long-term growth for short-term comfort without even realizing it. But those who win, they zoom out. They ask a different question. Where is this decision going to take me 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And that perspective changes everything. Because when you start thinking long-term, you stop chasing quick wins and start building real foundations. You begin to realize that success is not an event. It's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that compounds over time. And once you understand the power of compounding, you stop underestimating small actions. See, most people ignore the small things because they don't see immediate results. Reading a few pages doesn't seem like much. Making one call doesn't seem like much. Practicing a skill for an hour doesn't seem like much. But when you do those things consistently, day after day, they start to stack. And stacking is where the magic happens. One day of discipline won't change your life, but 100 days will. One good decision won't make you wealthy, but thousands of good decisions will. The problem is, most people never stay consistent long enough to see the result of their own effort. They start strong, but they don't stay steady. And the reason is simple. They're too focused on immediate feedback. If they don't see results quickly, they assume it's not working. So they quit, they switch, they start over, and every time they do that, they reset the clock on their own progress. But those who understand the game, they don't need immediate validation. They trust the process. They know that just because you don't see results yet doesn't mean results aren't coming, because growth is happening beneath the surface before it ever shows up on the outside. It's like planting a seed. You don't plant it today and expect a tree tomorrow. You water it, you protect it, you give it time, and eventually it grows. But if you keep digging it up to check if it's working, you'll never see the result. That's how most people treat their goals. They don't give them enough time to grow. So the people who rise, they commit for the long term. They stop looking for shortcuts. They stop looking for overnight success. And they start focusing on becoming the kind of person who can sustain success when it comes. Because here's the truth. Getting results is one thing, keeping them is another. And if you don't build the habits, the discipline, and the mindset over time, even if you get success quickly, you won't be able to hold on to it. So they think in years, but they act in days. Every single day, they're doing something that aligns with their long-term vision. Even if it's small, even if nobody sees it, even if it doesn't feel significant in the moment, because they know those small actions are not small, they're seeds. And over time, those seeds turn into habits. Those habits turn into results. And those results turn into a completely different life. So while others are chasing what's fast, they're building what lasts. While others are looking for easy, they're committed to consistent. And while others are starting over again and again, they're compounding their efforts, stacking wins, and moving forward with intention. Because when you truly understand this, you stop asking, what can I get today? And you start asking, what am I building for tomorrow? And that shift right there, that's what separates those who struggle from those who create real, lasting wealth. Because in the end, it's not about what you do once in a while. It's about what you do every single day with the future in mind.